We had the Dada collective here last night. There was Tristan and I, Michael, Jerry and Prudy, Peter the painter, the Kobaks, and... no, that's it. Tristan and I did a piece together wherein I began playing the guitar and we sang Blowin' in the Wind, except at the first chorus I left the room, got a rock from outside, came back in and bashed the guitar to bits while Tristan sang on as if he didn't notice it happening. I think it had a lot of potential as a comment on the fact that protest art is in a sorry state compared to a few years ago, and music is more vapid now. But then, if it had a meaning, it would not be Dadaist by definition. I don't know. It's a tricky one. Peter got out a load of mushrooms that he brought wrapped in tin foil. I had to consider what to do because I've heard a lot about bad trips on mushrooms. But then I have also heard that some people lose all notions of ego and see themselves as matter in the universe, which is a skill that would surely come in handy. He set them out across the room and started saying, "This is a scarlet cup. This is a nice G-strum triplex." We were all standing there looking at each other. When they were all laid out, people started to say, "Oh, that's nice." And Peter said, "Yeah, I freeze dry them usually. Keeps them nice." Eventually, I realised that this was not about to descend into debauchery, and we were in fact just being treated to an overview of England's fungi. When we got over that, Peter showed some of his paintings. In all honesty, they're fine. He is technically skilled, but he does landscapes and they're uninspired. He goes up mountains and paints there, just painting what he sees. Adds nothing to it, no spaceships, no social commentary, just grass and sky. He invited me to go with him one day when he goes up painting in the hills. I'd like to. I'm interested to see how he climbs, being that he doesn't believe in shoes. Wish he'd wipe his feet when he comes in. I like to keep the place tidy. When people visit, they often say they thought Tris and I were such feckless hippies that we probably lived in the back of a van. But our house is nice, largely because I clean it all the bloody time. Last night, Prudy asked me if I ever considered moving out. I said, "Moving out of my own house?" She said, "I don't know anyone of your age who lives with their brother." I said, "Perhaps he lives with me." She said, "Okay, but you gotta think that's weird." I can only say I'm sorry she's not friends with her brother. Her brother is in Vietnam. She and Jerry actually live over here because Jerry's dodging the draft. Prudy had an interesting piece of Dadaism with her. She brought with her a bottle of her friend's breast milk and invited us all to drink it. At first, no one showed any interest, so I felt very sorry for her. She said, "Seriously? You'll take milk from a strange cow, but not from a member of your own species who gives it up willingly?" We all agreed that we would. In the end, Stephanie Kobak buckled up and took one for the team. Stephanie Kobak's pretty cool. She's in her 50s, but she's very open-minded. We were all watching her. She said, "It's very sweet. It's like the milk from the bottom of a bowl of sugar cereal." It's very kind of her. It made Prudy so happy. It is so awful when no one appreciates her art. Tristan took that moment to look at me and say, "Ask everyone if they'd like tea and coffee, darling." Later on, when the wine was flowing, Tristan started on at Jerry about the draft. Somehow Tristan has missed that we're all meant to be morally outraged by the draft. I think he sees strife as inherently masculine, and possibly he has an inferiority complex that is the only man in the family not to have been in the World War. He does not believe in the war. He expresses disgust at American men going out there and spraying Vietnamese children with napalm, but he has the belief that if you don't go when you get called, you're just passing the buck to somebody else. I don't know. It can be inscrutable. Later on, Jerry and I were sharing a joint in the garden. looking at the stars. I said, you know, Tristan doesn't really mean the stuff about how you should go back and face the draft. And Jerry said, oh, I think he does. I said, you'd have to know Tristan a very long time to see it, but he kind of tells jokes that are only funny to himself. I just don't think he realises how serious it comes across. He said, you know, Joyce, you don't always have to defend Tristan. I mean, Tristan's a great guy, but he's kind of an asshole. Jerry's really gorgeous. He's like part white, part black, part Native American. He looks half-caste, but he's got these piercing grey eyes. We talked a bit more about English versus American culture and things, and suddenly he said, I've always wondered, is Tristan okay? He said, I know the British aren't meant to talk about these things. You guys are very proper. But I've kind of seen some things in Tristan that I see in myself, and I kind of wonder, is he manic depressive? Blood ran cold. I felt like I had to jump over the fence or do anything to get away from there. I blew it immediately. But I should have said, why would you say such a ridiculous thing? But I blew it outright. I just said, how did you know? And he said, well, it's just obvious, to be honest. Like, he'll do nothing for 3 months, going around, being a dick to everybody. Then he's flying all over the place, being in movies and all these plays. He's the life and soul of the party. I can pretty much tell how he's going to be when he walks into the room. And I'll say it again, he's a great guy, even when he's an asshole. I just wish you guys didn't suffer in silence. And it's like the British people pride themselves on suffering in silence. But no one's gonna come to you anytime soon and say, hey, here's your medal for not inconveniencing anybody. You know, back in the States, if I was down, I'd say to my mom, Mom, I'm headed for a downer. I'm gonna be lousing around. And she'd be like, okay, hun, you know? Yeah, Tristan hates that. I told him about some of the things that have happened. The homes we've been run out of. The jobs Tristan has lost over it. The family members who've abandoned us. The friends we've lost. So, it's not that Tristan and I are deliberately stuffy. It's just that we're screwed over so badly when people find out. It's better just to play like he's just extremely eccentric. People have a much higher tolerance for that for some reason. I hope Jerry doesn't tell anyone. He told me about all the different pills he takes that you can get in the States. He's on 5 different things. I told him Tristan is prescribed lithium, but it makes you fat, so he doesn't take it. He just takes Valium. And booze, I guess. Jerry asked if we get psychotherapy, and I said, this is Britain. No one gets psychotherapy. He talked about psychotherapy, and interestingly, he talked about the emerging acceptance over there. He said in certain left-leaning places in the States, it is not only acceptable, but admirable to see therapists and psychiatrists. It's not seen as infantile navel-gazing, but as an effort towards self-betterment that gives benefit to everyone around you. He said, for example, I go to therapy, I work on my issues, then I'm nicer to my sister, I'm nicer to my mom, I have less issues in college, and in the end it's a profit to the whole community. And it's not like my dad's generation where you deal with your feelings by going out back and shooting every goddamn deer you can find. Am I awful if I want to try shooting deer? I would wear its skin and antlers when I went shopping in Hackney. I feel very lucky to have the collective in my life. Without them, I often think my work would not reach an appreciative audience. That's something I like about these tapes. They hold my thoughts for me. My brain is so busy. Sometimes I go out walking at night because my brain is like 1,000 radio channels broadcasting across each other, all the music and all the voices trying to be heard and unable to be quiet until they've all said their piece. Then I need to be alone in the dark till sleep knits up the ravelled sleeve of care. Let me just try something. Hey, I did it!